This is the Digital Shelf Insider podcast of Metrics Card. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Digital Shelf Insider podcast of Metrics Card. I'm your host Shreshta, and today we are joined by Marc Hubbard. He's been a part of this industry, the CPG e-commerce space, for more than 20 years as an international sales and market research leader. So we're going to talk a little bit about how AI and retail media and everything is changing this whole CPG space and the way brands work and are present for the audience and on the digital shelf. So let's hear it out from him. Hey, Mark, how are you doing today?
I'm good. Good to see you. How are you today?
Good. A very warm welcome to this episode. So excited to have you for this conversation. So, you've been in this industry for more than 2 decades, and I'm sure you've seen numerous shifts in technology and in brand strategy itself. What are the different, significant ones that you've seen across this timeline?
Yeah. I'm older now. I remember the early days of e-com.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's been so much, and there remains so much. It's one of the exciting things I find about the e-commerce market, not just in the US but around the world, is that it is so dynamic. There is so much change. Let's be honest, nobody really predicted Amazon was going to be as big as it is in the US, but its success has certainly been a huge impact on this industry, and I think will be for many years to come. So, understanding Amazon is only remaining more important than it was even a few years ago. So that's a big trend now. I think brands need to keep abreast of, because Amazon, to their credit, keep changing, right? They keep evolving, and as they evolve, you need to evolve to keep up with trends and opportunities to grow, or you'll be kind of captured by the competition. Another big trend, clearly we're all living it, is retail media networks. Again, nobody predicted that was going to come, and the size of that. And again, the massive bias. If you look at the math, roughly 77%, 75% of all retail media is on Amazon. It's so biased in the US. Yeah. And then you've got Walmart is by far the next biggest, but they're probably 8%. So, 1/10 of the size of Amazon. Yeah. And then everybody else, the other, probably over 100 now, are somewhere around 15%. It's kind of almost irrelevant. And so that whole retail media network space is clearly evolving. It's clearly very important for the retailer. It's a massive profit center for them. We all know that, particularly for the bricks and mortar retailers. But quite frankly, what many of those bricks and mortar retailers offer is quite weak relative to what you can get from an Amazon. So Amazon's A, got scale, and B, got kind of competency and capabilities, which makes it relatively easier to say, okay, I'm going to spend more with Amazon, right? I can get these results. But why would I go to Acme Retail or Beta Retail, these kind of smaller guys? Well, I really like the people, but I'm not sure they have the capability or the reach that I can get. So that's going to be one that clearly is something to watch. And then we'll talk about it, I think, a bit later as well, but AI, right? So AI is in everyone's job, but particularly as I think it through e-commerce, AI search, right? And the use of, or the lack of use of, say, a Google search or even an Amazon search, for people going into a Chat GPT or a Gemini or whatever your preferred engine is, and essentially getting the AI to generate search results for you. Yeah. And what that means for a brand now is completely different, because how do we barely understand how the Amazon or the Google search works. Now we've got to learn these AI generated search algorithms, which probably won't give us an endless aisle, but it'll probably give us 1-3 recommendations. We'll put it within our prompt. Hey, give me the top 3 products. Or how do you become a top 3 product? On whose definition? Yeah. It's going to be a really interesting time, I think.
Definitely. You mentioned about AI, and that's what I want to dig in a little bit more. So, a lot of hyper personalization that the legacy manufacturers are trying, or even the new age brands are trying, is largely proven through AI. So, what are the sort of tech solutions that brands are grappling with to go through this AI evolution?
Sure. Well, I think being in the industry long enough, we as an industry have talked about the desire to be hyper personalized. Right, you get your own ad, and Mark gets his own ad, and Billy gets her own ad. I don't think that really happens. I think the reality is, while we can target in terms of, we can have lookalike audiences, right? Oh, someone who lives in a certain zip code or maybe a certain basic demographic data. But if we think about what we're doing, we're rarely giving them true personalized messaging. It's not usually personalized content or imagery. We're not sending them to a personalized landing page or a PDP. So even that hyper personalization is somewhat today rather limited to hopefully, oh, here's a cohort of XYZ demographic and ABC demographic, and they're going to get slightly different messages, maybe not images. Let alone, once you get that ad, where do you get pushed to from there is often the same everyone else sees. So I think that's really a sort of misnomer, right? Hyper personalization. We want to do it, but I don't think anyone's got the tech yet to do that. And it's almost not a tech problem, it's a content problem.
Yeah.
Because actually the tech is relatively straightforward now to send millions of different customized emails or landing pages.
Yeah.
But we as brands don't have enough content, text content, image content, right, to be truly hyper personalized.
Yeah.
Then it becomes, can your AI build that content for you so you can truly have a hyper personalized approach? I'll be interested to see where that goes.
Definitely. Now coming to the retailer side, the whole challenge for brands is with product discoverability. How are they actually, kind of doing the digital shelf optimization with, Rufus and Sparky around?
Yeah, so I think obviously with those kind of technologies, Rufus and Sparky, it's still learning, right? Again, we don't quite know how the algorithms work, but that's that desire to be relevant, right? And again, I'm old enough to remember when the internet was called the endless aisle, right? And all you need to be with, get online and you could be one of a million products and you'd be discovered and you'd be fine. Actually, no, you won't be. And we know through all the research, it's if you're really not top 3, you're struggling. If you're not top 10, you're definitely struggling. And if you're on page 2, you're dead. So what's the point, right? So
Yeah.
actually, that discoverability is really key. But being discovered at the very top of the search ranking is really what matters. And so, I think, but at least in the short term, we'll still see the similar kind of traits, right? Lots of keyword stuffing seems to be a popular trend. But many brands don't do that. It seems kind of a joke and kind of laugh at it, but there are many PDPs we can see out there that are sort of somewhat weak, right? They haven't got it in the bullet points. They haven't actually been mining their own commentary and their own product feedback to look for what are the keywords and what are the use cases and that they should be. And so again, using those texts that allow them to understand what are real people saying about your products, and then putting that content into your PDPs or into your ads, I think is still a missed opportunity for many brands. But honestly, if you know how Rufus and Sparky work, let me know, because I think we're also trying to work it out. What are the sort of key underlying algorithms?
So true. Now all brands, all tech solutions, everywhere we're just overloaded with data. So how does the execution go with brands? Is that really happening?
So yes and no. Look, I have a data background. My first job out of school was a data analyst. So I truly love data. I'm a huge fan of it. But more and more, particularly the big FMCGs, particularly, they are overwhelmed with data. Now, I've worked in other categories. If you look at furniture, example, how they're actually a little bit less data rich in some ways, unless they have their own website and they're mining their data. But if you think about large FMCG, CPG for a minute. Most of the big guys actually have too much data. They don't know what to do with it. They don't even fully utilize it. So what really they're looking for when I've worked with them in the past is they don't want more data. They want more actionability.
Yeah.
And so solution providers that are providing, translating the data into an insight, translating the data into a recommendation. So beyond an insight, but to like, hey, and you should do X.
Yeah.
And then those sort of either daily, hourly alerts. So, hey, algorithm looked at your data, saw why trend, and here's what you should do about it, is really what they're looking for. And so many tools haven't quite got to that stage yet. But that's what the brands need, because quite frankly, they're overwhelmed. They're running so fast that they can't possibly mine their own data. So again, can you use AI to analyze the data to then proactively tell the brand, hey, here's an opportunity to go tackle something, or here's a declining sale and pick up it early and change its course.
Definitely. You mentioned about retail media being one of the biggest trends that has come up over the decades. So how are brands, CPG brands specifically, kind of integrating and managing their presence across these retail media platforms? And benchmarking is a real challenge out there.
Well, absolutely. That's like you just mentioned benchmarks. That's the challenge, right? Most retail media networks have their own sort of math.
Yeah.
They might call a metric the same thing, but you can't really compare across retail media networks. So obviously work that the IAB is doing, others trying to synthesize down to a set of standards will really help. So you can literally compare on network one, network two, network three, what is my performance? Because at the moment you might be given sort of a similar number, but you can't really compare.
Yeah.
So that's one of the big challenges. I think that comes from sort of the industry-wide need to get together and set, sort of industry or global standards. That'll certainly help. Um, Again, if you look about how their teams are structuring it, some of the big CPGs are bringing more of the media in-house, that they are sort of managing all their own destiny, and they're buying in outside tech to help them sort of manage that and analyze that. Other companies are going to outside, or they're using media agencies to not only buy but also analyze their data and sort of outsourcing all that work to them. And then some of those agencies, without Omnicom and Publicis, they're kind of buying tools, so within their family they can kind of do their own homework. Other agencies are essentially buying external data from external partners. So there's a lot of different approaches to how they get to it. But really the challenge is understanding incrementality. If you ever listen to the CPG guy, Shreshta, an old acquaintance of mine, he's constantly reminding people it's incrementality that matters. So if I hadn't spent this dollar on advertising or this euro or this yen, would I have still got the sale? And I think that's probably one of the bigger challenges is for retail media networks and for brands right now, is that proof of incrementality, because that's really what a brand needs, right? If you were already going to buy, why should I advertise you? If you're a high intent shop and you always buy my product, is that ad worth it? Because you're probably going to buy anyway, right? And so I think that the challenge for the media manager at CPG is it's easy to juice up your own metrics by kind of advertising on your own keywords, advertising to your own shoppers. And yes, of course, they're going to buy because they were going to buy anyway. But what you're really trying to do is grow the business. And therefore, are you growing reach? Are you adding more shoppers? Are you growing mentality? And some of the tools are really lacking right now in that measurement. So I'm really interested to see where that goes to help brands be successful, to be more efficient. And for shoppers then get a better ad, right? Again, if I'm already going to buy your product, do I really want you to be advertising to me? Maybe not, right? But if I'm buying a competitor, then maybe you can incentivize me. And so go back to personalization, the right message at the right time,
Yeah.
really matters.
So true. I have a follow-up question on that. So, does the lack of clarity on content performance kind of affect the profitability of retail media networks?
That's a great question. I'm not sure the lack of performance affects the profitability. I think in some ways that's actually a great thing, because some of the networks like say, hey, look, I've given you this wonderful result.
Yeah.
Trust me. And because they are, a bit of a stick, and because everyone is investing heavily in retail media, I think actually that somewhat the retailers are benefiting from this opaqueness.
Yeah.
I don't think it helps the CPGs though. I don't
Yeah.
think the brands are winning. I think the brands are losing. I think the brands are wasting a lot of money. There's a classic, marketing saying that 50% of my marketing is wasted. I don't know what 50%.
Yeah.
And even in the digital, I think that's largely true. I know a lot of my digital advertising is wasted. I just can't tell you what part of it's wasted. And so I think that's actually in some ways helping retail media networks in the short term with profitability, but it's certainly hurting the brands. What I'd like to see is more, again, of industry standards, incrementality measurement, so that actually we can work out where the profit is, and not only help brands, it'll help us be more efficient, but it'll also help those retail media networks that are struggling, because they can get better, right? It's not their fault. Sometimes they don't have their own data to prove how good or bad they are. And so if they were better, they would be able to make more money as well by being able to prove their value.
Right. I have one last question for you. Where do you foresee the most significant changes occurring in the future of digital commerce?
I mean, how long is a piece of string is a very English saying. So I think a big thing right now clearly is AI. What will that do? Whether that means will it take your job away? Will it automate some of the routine tasks so you can go and do more interesting, complex tasks? So I'm very interested to see what that means. Obviously, within that also, there is that, as we talked earlier, that this AI as a search agent, right? That is changing how brands and how retailers interact. It changes how we discover products. So forget, replacing your job, just you as a shopper and you as a consumer now. I think it's going to be really interesting over the next few years how AI changes how we discover products. And again, then how do we win that AI search?
Definitely.
I'm very interested to see, particularly in the US, will some of the big, Asian retailers break into Europe and North America? We think of an Alibaba or a Pinduoduo. Even a Mercado Libre in Latin America, right? They're kind of unheard of brands here in the US and in most of North America and even Western Europe, but they're as big or bigger than Amazon in many countries and even in total scale. And so will they start to enter some of these more kind of, Western markets, and how will that change the dynamic? Because they are different. Now, again, they're also built largely around, big city servicing and last mile delivery, which again, in America, if you've ever been, is a very, very large country. And a lot of people don't live in a town, and 1 hour delivery when you live 45 minutes away from a major city isn't practical. So, that will also change. So it's going to be a really interesting time. But I do think that, like I said at the beginning, I think e-com space is just primed for even more excitement, more change. It's what's such an exciting space to work in.
Yeah. And everything is so fast paced. I feel 2025 is that year where everything is really fast right now.
Trust me, in 2015 and 2005, we said the same thing. So the good news is get used to it, because it's probably not going to change.
Yeah. That was a wonderful conversation, Mark. Totally fun having you for this chat. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for the opportunity. Great to talk to you.
We've come to the end of the episode. If you loved what you just listened to, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. We'll be back next Monday with a really awesome guest. Stay tuned until then.